Let's go!
Every time that I step on the field, I just try to be that kid that was playing Pop Warner football right across the street.
Cade Klubnik is 1-4 versus SEC teams. So is this good news for LSU? How good of a signal caller is he? We're going to break down the film from his best game, arguably on the season, going up against Texas here in a playoff setting. You get a wide open mesh route touchdown, but it was actually the throw before that set all of this up. This right here is a top 5 college football playoff throw. The one thing that helps out Cade here is that Texas is in a too high shell, and this is a very clearly a 4-man rush and would likely stay a 4-man rush. It doesn't look like anybody is going to be blitzing. It's one of the benefits of being in 5 wide. Okay, so there's a flat right here, stop, and whatever's going on up here. So Cade sees that there is a little pocket of space to throw this football. The flat route right here is holding this corner. So bang, he thinks right here that he could rip this, but he decides not to, and this ends up being a really good decision to not rip it because that's probably getting picked off right here, or this corner's coming off and picking this off here. And there is a guy, Burke, who is a huge defensive end, that's right in his face, right? He's really good at batting balls down. He's got very long arms. So now he's rolling out against his body, and look at this throw he makes. The torque he's able to get this football thrown with, that was not said smoothly at all, is absolutely amazing. He hits Wesco, who had a very rough game, for a nice gain there. So Cade sees that it's zone coverage, and with this angle, you can see that on these in breakers, he knows that this window is going to be open, right? Zero is going with the zero receiver right here. So Cade keeps his eyes down the field and actually rips this ball to Wesco. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is ridiculous, all right? That is able to get the football with that much steam on it, and it gets to Wesco, bang. Really good stuff. All right, so we get to the next drive. Obviously, Cade Klubnik, 6 of 7 for 60 yards and a tutty on the first drive. And now we get to here, and his right tackle gets beat really badly. And the bad part about this is there's only deep routes that are being run here. So there really is nothing he can do other than just put 2 hands on the football and just go, right? But other than that, you just got to eat the sack and hope you hold on to the football, and he does. So this right here, to me, is a bad sack. I think this could have been avoided here. But one thing you will notice, and this is the most simple thought process in all of football, is if you can get home with 4, you're probably going to win most football games. It looks as if Clemson is running a variation of snag. At least that's what it looks like here. It's impossible for me to know. I'm not in that meeting room. And LSU actually does a good bit of this, especially with the 2022 LSU offense, the first year under Jaden. Okay, so if you see that this flat route is being picked up by this player, this ball needs to be delivered right here. But guess what? He doesn't like it because this overhang defender is right here. So Cade does a smart thing, not throwing anything. I mean, you could make a case that you should throw this ball into the flat, but it looks as if Texas is just really well disciplined. Everything is just covered. And then on the backside, it's not being protected well at all. This twist stun is able to get through here, and that is a bummer because there's no contain with the pass rush here to the right. So if Cade could have gotten out of this over here, this could have been, a spicy situation for Clemson, but instead it is a sack. 3rd and 7, and you're down by 14, and this is where you felt the pressure get to Cade Klubnik, all right? Klubnik, I might be butchering his name. You'll see here that the Clemson offensive line actually gives Cade time to throw the football, all right? But watch what happens. Everything kind of switched up on him post-snap, all right? And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about here in just a moment. The ball gets batted up into the air, and it ends up being an interception. Cade was very rattled. Obviously, when it comes to pocket mechanics, it's not really what he's known for, but overall, he is a fundamentally sound quarterback, and you'll see at the snap, they crowd the line of scrimmage, and Hill, the really good linebacker for Texas, backs out, all right? So pre-snap, Cade thought potentially that it was man-to-man here, man-to-man here. This safety bails out, and this linebacker now becomes the overhang, if you will, over on this side. And guess what? He wanted to work his number one option, 0 right here, pretty quickly. But he gets off of that, all right? Now, you could see that this pocket is really good, and his footwork gets all out of sorts. So the way this is probably supposed to be read is to go from 1 to 2, and then if you're trying to pick up the first down, the dig right here is open. And if you want to get really sexy, you can go to the running back in the flat who's wide open. But you're asking a college quarterback on the road versus an elite pass rush to go full field, and it's just never going to happen. So you can see he gets tiptoey, telegraphs his pass, and when you telegraph like this, it makes it easier for the defensive line to bat the football up into the air. And from an LSU vantage point, there is no player I have ever seen at the college level do better at batting footballs up in the air than Patrick Payton, the Florida State transfer. So you can see that this ball is getting telegraphed. Obviously, if you want to get really sexy, you would like to see this ball get thrown to the backside dig, especially in a good pocket. So even without getting home, this Texas defensive line was able to be very active, okay? And boom, it's a pickoff. So after the 2-minute warning, Clemson gets a pick 6. One of their defensive linemen has a blindside block, so you don't get the touchdown. So I think that is relevant because this Clemson offense or the Clemson sideline, huge momentum boost, gets called back for a penalty. So we need our quarterback to step up here and make a play. So we get a play action fake. And one thing you'll notice that Texas kept doing, and this is honestly something that I would do if I'm LSU, is yes, you do have an elite defensive line, but if you're going up against a mobile dual threat quarterback, there is a lot of equity in blitzing the nickel or the box safety, if you will, because this is a faster guy. Cade Klubnik is not going to be able to outrun this guy. So obviously this could be Harold Perkins for LSU. This could be quite a few different people for LSU in this spot. DeMarcus Cooley, whoever. All right. So you got to play action fake. And this is a debate in the QB mechanics community, right? One thing you don't want to do ever in a good pocket is drift backwards. Okay, you can see his footwork is very choppy and the pocket is really good. I am not of that belief because in this instance, Cade does a smart thing. You can see he's drifting, but the reason why he's drifting is to get a better angle on this comeback route, right? This ball was just deflected at the line of scrimmage for a big interception. So he's just doing this to give himself a little bit more room and a better angle to throw this comeback route. And look at when he's actually deciding to throw this football. Once again, that first throw we really broke down was him running against his body and throwing an absolute bullet. He gets it over the long arms of the defensive lineman and picks up a first down there. Now we move ahead to the third quarter. I highly doubt Clemson is going to be beaten by us by 21 points and vice versa. This game's going to be very close. So it is important to point out when the score gets like this, defenses really do change, all right? So Clemson loves to do this offensively. It's something Penn State does a lot of, and in particular Lane Kiffin as well. They like to run these three kind of level delay concepts where it's either a tight end or a running back catching a vertical wheel out of the backfield. In fact, Texas does a lot of it, and you could see they're well-versed in this. They know that the running back, in particular Texas, I mean, they were the best at this I've ever seen in college football. They know that a running back off a play action fake is a very popular target in the modern day. So you could see all the depth that is being given, and there's just nowhere for Cade to throw the football. Now, this is the second part of the equation here, is that remember, we told you about the blitzing nickel, all right? This is 3 again coming off the edge, and you could see that Clemson has this protected really well. So 11 lets the DB go because he knows that this guard is pulling around. This is a very difficult block for a guard in this much space to block a faster guy, and he just has no shot. And then when the faster guy gets through here, Cade cannot outrun this guy, right? Maybe a DT can get by, but not in this instance. The guy's just too fast, and he gets brought down. Now, Cade does eventually get out of it, but this is the biggest weakness, and any Clemson fan will tell you this. His ball security is terrible. He fumbles a lot, and you could see to avoid taking this sack, he tries to throw this football vertically to 11 to avoid the sack, and instead it flips out backwards, okay? So now Clemson is in a disastrous situation, and lucky enough, they're able to pick up the fumble. Once again, here's what Texas decides to do. Clemson pre-snap is thinking Colin Simmons is flying off the edge. They blitz the nickel again, all right? And what this does with Colin Simmons coming into the flat right here, these kind of wheels into the boundary. It's basically the same idea to this side, all right? You're trying to get vertical with the running back out of the backfield, and you can see it's picked up, right? They've got that covered. So Cade Klubnik sees that and instead wants to work this second level concept of this flood, right? So you have the vertical, and then he's trying to work the second level, and you'll see the corner is sitting right there waiting for it. He just over pursues it. Now, it is a little cut off, all right? But watch what happens. Cade actually gets a little lucky here, all right? So the corner is sitting here waiting for it, and he just misjudges the ball, all right? So Cade, it looks like a really, really, really good throw, and it kind of sort of is, but it's also lucky. And now they finally get it to work, all right? Running back, wheel, play action to the wide receiver out of the boundary. So you have a vertical here, and then you have a vertical here with the running back. It is very difficult to pick up, and they also have a vertical from the tight end. So the way this is supposed to work, safety picks up the tight end vertical. The linebacker has to carry with this running back full head of steam, and Hill is a really good player, just gets burned, and that's what you got to be ready for, all right? So Cade throws a really good ball. It is wide open, but the play call is what got that there. All right, this is some really good stuff right here from Clemson. There's 2 safeties that you don't see, and it looks like this is a variation of quarters, and basically they're trying to throw the football right here. So you run a vertical to hopefully get this corner to carry, and instead of the corner sitting right here, he does carry with the vertical. You have a nice little flood concept being run to the sideline. So this ball, I can't see, obviously, probably should have been thrown now. You can see he pumps and then finally rips it. And, man, these Clemson receivers are good football players. Look at this ball adjustment. That's not a good ball by any stretch of the imagination. Catches it 1 foot and actually 2 feet in bounds right there. It's really good stuff. All right, so we get to this 4th and 6. Down by 2 possessions. Got to score a touchdown here. You can see Texas is in a variation of zone, which is very common. This obviously prevents a scramble touchdown. They're saying, look, we want Cade to actually throw this football into the end zone, all right? And the pass rush lane integrity here is really good, all right? They're not giving up contain, and you can see that there is pressure, but the zone defenders get lost, and a receiver is able to drift right over the middle right there, and he's wide open for a touchdown. It's really, really, really good stuff. Okay, so do you want to see what high-level quarterback play looks like? Well, this is it. And this honestly was a weakness in Garrett's game, all right? It's not one that you think is a weakness in Garrett's game. So once again, Colin Simmons very well could be the best defensive player in the SEC. He absolutely dominates this left tackle, and there's a lot of pressure. But an immediate go ball versus press man is something that happens relatively quickly. So while getting crushed from his blind side, look at where he actually puts this football. I mean, this is just ridiculous stuff. Bang. Okay? Now, this was a really good job. You could tell this Clemson team is very well coached. One does a good job of stacking this DB. Muhammad was a really good player for Texas. So he does a good job just keeping him in front of him and then creating separation at the last second to make that catch. That's good stuff. All right, so this is just a big part of who Clemson is, the QB run game. Whether it's designed or scrambled, this looks like a designed QB run all the way. And once again, Clemson's offensive line gets their asses kicked, and you can see Texas is ready for it. Once again, they said, look, we don't mind locking up your really good receivers man-to-man across the way. We're just not going to let you run into the end zone. And look at how Texas pursues this, okay? 45 misses him, but, man, that is just ridiculously good stuff, and they're able to prevent Cade from scoring there. So now we get into a pretty fun debate when it comes to Klubnik. His play caller is Lincoln Riley's younger brother, Garrett Riley. This right here was one of the worst play calls of the entire college football playoff. And this is important because the game before this, Texas versus Texas A&M, I'm sure Clemson watched that game. Texas had some ridiculous point-blank goal line stands in the game. So what I'm not going to do is do the same thing A&M did in the fourth quarter, which is try and get tight and heavy. And guess what? Texas just absolutely whips everybody's rear end on this play, okay? And nowhere to go. Easy fourth down stop. So while Garrett Riley is a good play caller, he's definitely one of the easier ones that LSU has faced in recent years in season openers. All right, so how good is Cade Klubnik? He's very, very, very good. As you guys could clearly see in this video today, he's far from perfect. It is amazing watching his growth from a five-star recruit because in 2022, he really wasn't that good as a true freshman. Then in 2023, he was all right. And then in 2024, he blew up. All right, so this is some pretty intricate stuff from Texas. It's not too exotic, but it is interesting. So remember earlier, Clemson, that wide open touchdown they got, it was on a shallow drag off a mesh concept. One thing you can do versus mesh, though, is instead of being in what looks like middle of the field open coverage, this actually turns into middle of the field closed. All right, so this safety goes center field, and this safety becomes a robber. All right, so what a robber does is pick up any scraps coming over the middle. Obviously, Troy Polamalu, arguably the best robber outside of Al Capone this century. Now, I tried to make that sound cool, but you could see that Cade thinks that this shallow drag is open because it looks like it's open. There's no DB over here. The linebacker deoccupied the middle of the field to guard the flats, but what he doesn't see is his safety screaming down and making this play to end the game. Boom. Okay? So even the best QB is probably getting fooled by that. And then it turns into a medicine ball for the Clemson wide receiver group. So, look, Cade's numbers in this game was really, really, really good, especially when you factor in that he's on the road in a playoff game. Man, I just want to keep replaying this Klubnik throw. I mean, it really, I just love seeing greatness, and this truly was amazing stuff. Look, I have an interesting Cade background. So I started doing my own QB evaluating of, the high school football recruits, and I honestly thought Cade was the best QB in his cycle, right? And that was actually Garrett Nussmeier's cycle. And I just started doing some radio in South Carolina, and I was like, man, this dude is really, really, really good. And I was shocked at how much he actually struggled early on in his career. And this was my biggest theory as to why. When he was at Westlake High School, by the way, he is from Austin, so this was a big game personally for him. They routinely beat teams 70-0, right? So he didn't really play competitive high school football. He was out of his shoulder pads by the fourth quarter quite a bit. And, since then, you saw him just grow. Like the 2023 season when Cade was a starter for Clemson, he was kind of a laughingstock with all the fumble issues, and some were calling him a bust, and he was following the likes of Trevor and Deshaun Watson. But man, he's turned into something. I mean, he is really good, and the thing that should scare you the most are these receivers. So let me know what you guys think down below, and we'll talk to you soon. It's Power Hour LSU. Boom. Tonight. Oh, we're doing some stir fry. Let's go.